Hi, friends! I thought I'd try something new. One of my favorite books is not really a picture book, it's more of a chapter book, but the chapters are very small. I thought I could start reading a couple chapters every now and then to you. The book is called The Little Prince. So, since the book does not have so many pictures, I will read as much as I can until there is a picture, and then I will show you the picture. Chapter 1. Once when I was 6, I saw a magnificent picture in a book about the jungle called True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing a wild beast. Here is a copy of that picture. In the book it said, boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing. Afterwards, they are no longer able to move, and they sleep for 6 months of their digestion. In those days, I thought a lot about jungle adventures, and eventually I managed to make my first drawing using colored pencil. My drawing number 1 looked like this. I showed the grown-ups my masterpiece, and I asked them if my drawing scared them. They answered, "Why be scared of a hat?" My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. Then I drew the inside of the boa constrictor so the grown-ups could understand. They always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups advised me to put away my drawings of boa constrictors, inside or out, and apply myself instead to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. That's why I abandoned, at the age of 6, a magnificent career as an artist. I had been discouraged by the failure of my drawing number 1 and of my drawing number 2. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, and it's exhausting for children to provide explanations over and over again. So, then, I had to choose another career, and I learned to pilot airplanes. I have flown almost everywhere in the world, and as a matter of fact, geography has been a big help to me. I could tell China from Arizona at first glance, which is very useful if you get lost during the night. So, I have had, in the course of my life, lots of encounters with lots of serious people. I've spent lots of time with grown-ups. I've seen them at close range, which hasn't much improved my opinion of them. Whenever I encountered a grown-up who seems to me at all enlightened, I would experiment on him with my drawing number 1, which I always kept. I wanted to see if he really understood anything. But he would always answer, "That's a hat." Then I wouldn't talk about boa constrictors or jungles or stars. I would put myself at his level and talk about bridge and golf and politics and neckties. And my grown-up was glad to know such a reasonable person. Chapter 2. So I lived all alone without anyone I could really talk to, until I made a crash landing in the Sahara Desert 6 years ago. Something in my plane's engine had broken, and since I had neither a mechanic nor passengers in the plane with me, I was preparing to undertake the difficult repair job by myself. For me, it was a matter of life or death. I had only enough drinking water for 8 days. Well, that's not very much. The first night, then, I went to sleep on the sand 1,000 miles from any inhabited country. I was more isolated than a man shipwrecked on a craft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine my surprise when I was awakened at daybreak by a funny little voice saying, "Please, draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep. I leaped up as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes hard. I stared. And I saw an extraordinary little fellow staring back at me very seriously. Here is a portrait that I managed to make of him later on. But of course, my drawing is much less attractive than my model. My career as a painter was discouraged at the age of 6 by the grown-ups, and I had never learned to draw anything other than boa constrictors inside and out. So I stared, wide-eyed, at this apparition. Don't forget that I was 1,000 miles from any inhabited territory. Yet this little fellow seemed to be neither lost nor dying of exhaustion or hunger or thirst, nor did he seem scared to death. There was nothing in his appearance that suggested a child lost in the middle of the desert 1,000 miles from any inhabited territory. When I finally managed to speak, I asked him, "But what are you doing here?" In the face of an overpowering mystery, you don't dare disobey. He said, "Please, draw me a sheep." Absurd as it seemed, 1,000 miles from any inhabited regions in danger of death, I took a scrap of paper and a pen out of my pocket. But then I remembered that I had mostly studied geography and history and arithmetic and grammar, and I told the little fellow, rather crossly, that I didn't know how to draw, and he replied, "That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." Since I'd never drawn a sheep, I made one of the only 2 drawings I knew how to make, the boa constrictor from the outside. And I was astounded to hear the little fellow answer, "No, no, no. I don't want an elephant inside of a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor is very dangerous and an elephant would get in the way. Where I live, everything is very small. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So, then, I made a drawing. He looked at it very carefully and he said, "No, this one already is quite sick. Make another." That one was quite sick. I made another drawing. My friend gave me a kind, indulgent smile. "You can see for yourself that this is not a sheep. This has horns." So I made a third drawing, and it was too rejected, like the others. "This one's too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time." So then, impatiently, since I was hurrying to start working on my engine, I scribbled this drawing and added, "This is just a crate. The sheep you want is inside." I was amazed to see that my young critic's face light up. "That's just the kind I wanted. Do you think the sheep will need lots of grass?" So the sheep is inside this crate. See, he drew him little air holes. "Why?" "Well, because where I live, everything is very small." "There's sure to be enough. I've given you a very small sheep." He bent over his drawing. "Not so small as all that. Look, he's gone to sleep." And that's how I made the acquaintance of the Little Prince. We'll stop there for today, and the next time I read to you, we'll do chapters 3 and 4. I hope you enjoyed this story, friends. It really is a good one.